We're back here on our program. We're going to go to Jaybird Wells here in just a few moments. We're also going to go to Dr. Dennis. Dr. Dennis is going to join us. A good doctor. He's going to join us here, and it is going to be top of the hour time here in just a few moments. Top of the hour time, as they say. I don't know why they're saying it, don't know indeed why they are saying it, who is saying it, why they're saying it, or what's all involved when they say it. What's all involved when they say it? I don't know. That's not the line. The line is, I don't know why they're saying it, but they are indeed saying it. That's the line, kids. I don't know. I don't know. We're having a lot of fun here today. It is Radio Xenu. RadioXenu.com, by the way, is the place to be. And we're going to talk to Dr. Dennis here in just a few moments. The good doctor. The good doctor is going to join us. I make him sound like he's Dr. Johnny Fever or something. What's going on there? I don't know. It's hour number 2. Here we go.
What you are about to witness through the power of audio and video will change you forever.
The views or opinions expressed on this program are those of the guest callers and do not necessarily reflect those of the host, advertisers, and affiliate stations. They're just created as advice.
Heard on 50+ stations across the internet and on brick and mortar radio. Streamed to every continent on the planet. The last man standing out here in the new media universe. Many have tried to bring him down, and he is forever. Welcome to the Jiggy Jaguar experience. Communicate with us online at jiggyjaguar@jiggyjaguar.com or dial us up at 1866-763-1242. Check it on Jigman Freud at www.jiggyjaguar.com. You've seen him on All Access Music Group. You've read about him in talk radio. Wants you. He's been on the 6 o'clock news, and now he's in your face and in your ear. Broadcasting from coast to coast like butter and toast. It's the Jiggy Jaguar Radio Show.
I do love that line. That's probably my favorite line, is broadcasting from coast to coast like butter and toast. That's my favorite line. I don't know why. And we're going to be talking to Dr. Dennis Durrell here in a few moments. Let's do this. I am making a tweet before an interview here. Hang out with me. Hang out with me. What does that even mean? Stay with me? That's what Rush used to say. Rush Limbaugh, the great Rush Limbaugh. Hush Bimbo, as Michael Savage used to call him. Was it Hush Bimbo? I think his name was Hush Bimbo. That's what Savage used to call him. Hush Bimbo. Gonna talk to Dr. Dennis Durrell here in a few moments. And we're going to bring in the good doctor. There is Dr. Dennis Durrell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good, actually. And, of course, we're going to grab our co-host here, Jaybird Wells. And Dr. Dennis Durrell is with us today. He's a physician, National Medical Director of Acute Services for IPC Healthcare and Team Health, and one of the largest suppliers of healthcare professional staff and integrated care providers in the country. And Dr. Durrell is with us today, and Jaybird Wells is back with us. And find the good doctor on Twitter, DRDERU. ELLE, or also Facebook.com/Dr. Durrell. And Doctor, wanted to get you on today because the boys are back in town, as they say. The GOP Congress is returning, and DNC Chairman Perez says that people will die if the Affordable Health Care Act is repealed. Give us your thoughts and feelings on this, and I'm sure me and Jay will jump in and ask you some questions on this. What do you make of this headline here from the DNC chair Perez?
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that kind of hyperbole. And I would ask another question. If 29 million people still don't have insurance based on the Affordable Care Act, how many of those people are dying? The data says supposedly for every 831 that are not insured, one patient dies. So do the math on that. And I don't think there's room in this debate for hyperbole. What I would say is let's try to take that off the table and find some sensible ways that we can fix the problems of the Affordable Care Act. And let's not get into the hyperbole. And I do think the Senate bill has been amended, as you know, and 2 versions have gone to the CBO. They're going to release the bill on Thursday. They're going to score the bill again, released on Monday. And let's see what some of these tweaks have done before everybody jumps in. I know that they're putting some tweaks in that I think will assuage some of the hyperbole as well.
I just don't approve of the national health care, period. I don't care which party comes up with it.
What do you think about that, doctor, as a physician?
Frankly, I agree. I don't care which party comes up with it. If they have something that works, it's just that right now the party that's driving the decision is the Republicans. If the Democrats would come to the table and offer votes, there's a difference between offering ideas and say, I will vote with you on this. They're all offering ideas, but they're not saying they would vote with it, and I think they've been told not to vote with it. So I think they're just posturing, in my opinion.
We've got Dr. Dennis Durrell with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast, and he has written an amazing, amazing book. It's called Your Healthcare Playbook, and Doctor, the book is amazing. Tell us a little bit about the book, and give us your thoughts on this whole thing.
Yes.
Right. Well, the book really is about giving you the power as a patient to first understand these complex things that are changing, and then take over the power to make the best decisions for yourself today. Not just about how to get insurance, but how to stay healthy and safe in the healthcare system. So until Washington gets it all put together, which is going to be a while, you want to take the power over yourself and over your healthcare to make sure that you get what you deserve. And I think that's what the book is about. And also, I talk about what Trump Care will mean, and it's all played out to be true, what I've said. And the things in the book will be good and important for the next 5 or 10 years, regardless of who's in charge. So I think it's so valuable for people to take a look at this.
We've got Dr. Dennis Durrell with us today, and Dr. Dennis is a physician and National Medical Director of Acute Services for IPC Healthcare. He's the author of Your Healthcare Playbook, Winning the Game of Modern Medicine, and This book has been getting a lot of great feedback. You've been getting a lot of good reviews on it. Tell us a little bit about the writing process for the book. We're always interested, especially since Jay is an author herself. We always like to hear the trials and tribulations of authors, what they had to do to put books together.
Oh my goodness! Well, a fellow author understands. A fellow author understands that. It's like, someone said writing a book is like having a baby. Of course, I'm a man, so I don't know that, although I have 6 children, so I've at least had a wife that was doing that. But it's actually not like having a baby. It's like raising children. And I say that because it really takes many, many years. And I had the idea to write the book, and it took writing on weekends and on airplanes, and it was a struggle. But the whole process, I felt like I had to write it, because I was in a unique position. I read the Affordable Care Act. I am doing healthcare across the United States in these new value models. I understand safety in hospitals. I've taken care of patients for 20 years. So I really felt it was my duty, that I was in a unique position to provide this kind of information, and that's what drove me. And I knew that patients in hospitals are at risk for harm. And I have a bracelet that one of the people that I interviewed gave me, and every time I thought about giving up on this book, I would look at it and say, I need to finish this. So it was a labor of love, but any author understands what it's like trying to complete a book.
It sounds like a brother from another mother.
Exactly.
Now we've got Dr. Dennis Durrell with us today. He joins us live. He is a best-selling author. He's got Your Healthcare Playbook. As a physician, you wanted to be able to put the best book out there as possible, and you wanted to make sure that you had the best information in there. Did you? What was some of the research and some of the different things that you did to bring this book to life, my friend?
Oh my goodness, I can't tell you the amount of research that I did. First of all, when you write nonfiction, you can't sit and just a story. What you find is every couple of sentences you have a fact that needs to be checked or added to the text. And so I found myself constantly having to go and do research every other sentence almost on a specific point. And that makes it such an arduous process. So not only did I have to read the Affordable Care Act, not only did I have to read all the rules that came out in the years after the Affordable Care Act, I also had to literally check the most recent fact, whatever it was. If I was saying 20% are this, I had to make sure it was the most recent. And so the research was just, it was years and it was voluminous to just get the different facts that are in there.
I had some friends who voted for the Affordable Care Act, and their premiums and I can't remember the word right now, but their fees are low. Their deductibles are low. And the ones who voted against it, their fees are extremely high. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, I think that, first of all, the Affordable Care Act was supposed to reduce premiums, but they actually went up. So I think that that's the key essence, but I'm not sure when you say the people that voted against it or for it. You mean in terms of the bill?
Yeah.
Well, I think that, the bill went through the Senate. The Affordable Care Act went through the Senate, as you know, with 60 votes because they had the majority. And then when they tried to put it back through again, had to use reconciliation. Because they had left us round one. And so basically it went through only with Democrats voting for it. And the people in the Senate and the Congress actually, according to the law, they have to use the Affordable Care Act exchanges. And so you are right that the people that voted for it actually are using it. But the bottom line is that the Affordable Care Act did not bring down premiums. It brought them up. And deductibles and what they have to pay out of pocket went up as well. And the reason for that is that not enough healthy people signed up and too many sick people signed up. And that's the way the law was designed. They didn't give enough incentive to young people to buy it. And that's why we ended up where we are today.
I also know, like what you were saying, where I knew some people that signed up and they had low deductibles, and then all of a sudden it's like a $5,000 deductible, and it's like, they have no insurance at all. And then you've got people who have spouses that get insurance through their companies. Their deductibles increased and went out the roof because the Affordable Care Act, one of the biggest goals was to squash the competitors. And now it's like we don't have insurance at all and have to basically go to the local witch doctor because we can't afford to go because now our insurance is worthless.
I see your point. Now. So the point you're asking is, you're right. For people that signed up for the Affordable Care Act, first of all, if you got Medicaid, then you didn't have any copays or out-of-pocket. That went to zero. Secondly, if you bought a silver or gold plan and you had subsidies for that, there were also protections for what you had to pay out of pocket. So they actually paid less. You're right. And then people that have employer-based insurance, that actually went up and more out of pocket. And that's definitely happening. And that's happening, because the price of insurance has gone up for everybody, not just for those in the exchanges. So relative to the people that signed up for Affordable Care Act, you're right. A lot of people are paying more, and some people got a better deal on the Affordable Care Act. You're absolutely right.
I still don't want it. Uh, my son went through cancer, and we met a lot of people from Israel and Canada, where they would come to America for cancer treatment because they couldn't get it in socialized countries. And now that there's the Affordable Care Act, now they're having a problem getting chemo care because of the Affordable Care Act. It's not fair. I don't want nationalized medicine.
I agree with you. I don't think that we'll have nationalized medicine in America for several reasons. Number one, we get our insurance, $100 million, as you just said, through our employer. You would have to take all of that and unwind it. That would be very hard to do. Number two, Vermont tried to do it. It was $30 billion short. California tried to do it. They needed $400 billion that they were missing to make that happen for their state, which is bigger than their entire budget. And so the reason that we won't have it, in my opinion, in the U.S. is that Americans like freedom and choice, as you just mentioned, and it's too expensive, and we'd have to unwind it out of all the employer-based insurance. And therefore, I don't think we'll have it. And I agree with you. It's not the best system. I like competition and innovation. That's why people come to the U.S. for their health care.
Can we be best friends?
Yes.
Love that. Dr. Dennis Durrell with us today. He joins us live. Jay Birdwell's with us today as well. And Doctor, there seems to be a lot of folks on social media. I know that you're very active on Twitter. You're very active on Facebook. What are people saying about the healthcare situation, whether it's from the Trump side or the Democratic side?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have my different legions of people on Twitter that I talk to. I've got all the academics that debate me all the time. You can read what I debate. I debate the academics of how I think Medicaid's not the answer and they think it is. So that's that group. And then you have the pro-Trump supporters that think we need to get something done, and they're saying, please help me and give me relief. And then you have the left that are saying, your people are going to die if this Senate bill passes. So, you've got those three segments. I think there are a couple of reasonable people in between that want solutions, kind of like me. But that's what I get. I have certain people telling me that, for example, here's a classic thing on Twitter. I'll say, doctors know that Medicaid patients don't always get the best care. And then an academic will say, well, this study shows that they do. And I said, but I'm a doctor. I see it every day. So please. And that's kind of the thing that we get into on Twitter, is the schism. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can't tell you how many times I stayed in the hospital with my son, and we got to I'm the type of person that people just kind of open up to me. And so lots of doctors and nurses and staff would always complain about Medicaid to me and how they couldn't get anything. They couldn't get anything paid, and so then people couldn't get any health care because they couldn't get it paid for.
That's exactly right. And, I talked to a doctor the other day in the emergency room, a doctor that said, I had a patient, she broke her arm, she needed surgery. I called the orthopedic surgeon. He found out she had Medicaid, and what he said, have her follow up in my office. Well, of course, the patient goes out of the ER, tries to get an appointment in that office, cannot do it, goes back to the ER, and finally gets the surgery the patient needed. And when you tell a story like that to someone who's done an academic paper that says Medicaid is wonderful, they tell me it's just one anecdote. They tell me it's one anecdote, but you know what? That anecdote happens all the time, but nobody wants to talk about that on the left, because then you're saying Medicaid's bad, which is a major part of the Affordable Care Act.
And that's why I'm been accused of being a witty, big mouth broad.
Yes.
Well, keep being big mouth, okay? That's important. I like that.
We've got Dr. Dennis Durrell with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast, and with the whole thing with healthcare and a lot of this stuff, I know that a lot of people on social media, like I mentioned, are up in arms about a lot of this. What do you think folks are going to be able to do if they're like Jay, because there's a lot of people that are like Jay, where they were like they don't care about, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they don't want nationalized health care. What can people do to, I guess, affect the conversation or the situation, Doctor?
Well, my feeling is this, if you look on social media, the left is very well mobilized. I mean, they literally have lists of senators and phone numbers to call every single day. They have talking points. They have a lot of information out there. See that on the right. I really don't. And again, I'm in between, so I'm not one or the other per se. So I would say that what you should do is, if you're leaning to the right side and you don't want this to move to nationalized type or government health care, call your senator. The senators are the most important part of this debate right now. And frankly, 10 of them are saying no at this moment. And how this plays out in the next 3 weeks is going to be extremely critical and interesting. So I think the best thing to do is put out a tweet that says, I'm not for that kind of health care, so there's at least a voice. And then secondly, you really should try to at least call your senator. There's 2 for every state. They're all going to be under the microscope on this vote. I think that's the most important thing to do.
And if you don't agree with those senators that you have, find conventionofstates.com or .org. Article 5 convention.
There you go. And at very least, get your voice out. I speak to, I got invited to Washington to meet with the Dr. Caucus, and, I talk to people that are involved in this, and trust me, they have answering machines, they take messages, and you can reach their offices. I know that Pat Toomey's office in Pennsylvania was taking calls the other day. So I know that you can get your voice out there. I just am afraid that you have a lot of activists that are doing it and not, everyday people.
Yeah. Well, everyday people are going to go to work, and it's almost got to the point where we need about 3 incomes for just a couple and kids. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right. It's very hard for the average American to be active in politics today because of the demands on them, and therefore, there are certain organizations that you can join and let them be your voice too. And so I think that's another way to do it. But
the grassroots are getting really big wings right now is because, they need a voice and they need somebody to speak for them, but they're just too busy working, trying to feed their family.
And I think that makes sense. And so latch on to people that are giving the message that you agree with, whether it's in politics or whether they're in organizations or people like me that are out there speaking. I think I speak for the average patient. That's what I try to do. Find that support group to be a voice for you.
We've got Dr. Dennis Durrell. Go ahead, Jay. Jump in there. Sorry about
that. What was your Twitter handle again?
It's at Dr. Durrell, just at Dr. Durrell. And I put a lot of updates about the Senate bill and what's happening. And I put a lot of interesting things about healthcare, not just about this debate, how to stay safe in the hospital. I'll put articles on there. So, I think this is bigger than this bill. This bill is extremely important. But as I say in my book, the patient is the most valuable player on these healthcare teams. And the government can do all they want, but I want to protect patients. And I think that we can do that even as they're doing all these other high social engineering in Washington.
Fantastic. Well, Doctor, and a couple more questions before we let you go, my friend. Are you planning on writing a follow-up or anything with this book now that it's out there and off and running?
That's a great question. Whenever I get asked that, I say, I think my wife needs a little break, so I can't let her know I might be working on a book. In fact, she shook her head the other day. She's like, no, absolutely not. But I think when that wears off, when I get approval from my wife, which is important, I will have a follow-up. And I have some ideas but I haven't formalized it yet. I want to continue the idea of the playbook. I might do it on a more specific issue and have a playbook for this, a playbook for that in healthcare.
And if your spouse is anything like mine, there's going to become a time where your spouse sits there and says, "Shut up and go right."
Exactly. For right now, she's like, no, and then she's going to say, "I know you have to do this. Go do it." Exactly. You're right.
I have
She'll
a headache.
come
Go
on.
bug your writer. Go bug your computer.
Exactly. Very good.
Well, Doctor, I appreciate you making time for us today. Thanks for coming on the broadcast, and just thanks for chatting with us today. It was a real good conversation. We learned a heck of a lot from you, my man.
Well, listen, it's always a